If you think it is hard to learn climbing technique, unlocking mental training strategies is probably even harder. It has become increasingly obvious to me that my mental game is often the limiting factor in being able to complete my projects. I knew that I wanted to start learning more, and so I was really happy to be able to do an introductory course run by Becca Lounds and Dr. Kris Chapman. Becca is an experienced coach based in Sheffield, and Kris is a mindfulness coach. They run the course together, coaching mindfulness principles in climbing through movement, breathing, and tactics. It is only 3.5 hours long, but it gives a really good introduction to the basic principles. As I predominantly boulder outdoors, they have kindly agreed to run the course outside, which was really helpful, as we have gone through the exact process that I would normally go through with unlocking a boulder problem. We started off by exploring just what mindfulness means, which is basically being present in the moment and accepting how you're feeling rather than trying to control or force something. We looked at some strategies as to how to get grounded, from sitting down and breathing, walking, and using props. You would call that, I guess, a mental preparation for climbing, a sort of a mindfulness warm-up. Especially if you're climbing after a busy day or you're starting your day full of expectations of sending. Grounding yourself puts your mind into a really good state where you can actually have the capacity to work on your mind. Then comes the hard work of putting it into practice. We were discussing a lot about what I was feeling whilst climbing and trying to apply the principles of just being in the moment and not think about outcomes and just letting thoughts and feelings be. The biggest thing that I have taken away from the course was a STOP acronym for when my emotions go wild and I start to panic. Especially on hard top outs when you're tired, it is easy to lose it and start to scramble for holds. Usually, if I go into this mode, I miss a crucial handhold or foothold and it becomes a bit of a nightmare top out. The whole point of this is to keep a clear head. So first, you stop. You take a breath, observe where the hold is, and then you proceed, which means action. This is literally a game changer for me, and I use this ever since on a lot of my projects. I felt in a really good mental state and ended up doing this cool 6C climb, going through the strategies as I was doing it. Becca had to remind me here though to not forget about the stop. Being at Stanage Edge as the sun was setting, having done a lot of the breathing exercises and other grounding strategies, I felt so good and calm, and I almost didn't care about whether I was going to do the problem or not, because I was just having such a nice time. I realized that this is a really good headspace for me that I wanted to try and replicate. If you watch my videos, you know that Beretta at Anston is a bit of a nemesis project. I have nearly done it many times, but I always mess it up somewhere. It is one of the most frustrating climbs I have tried up until this point, almost feeling like I just cannot go and face another session where I fluff the moves. I can say without any doubt that I didn't complete this climb up until that point, not because I wasn't strong enough or my technique wasn't good enough. It was because my mental game wasn't good enough. And so I did my mindfulness warm-up and used up all the strategies. I was feeling good. and I still fluffed it, and all of my frustration came back with a vengeance. If I didn't apply the principles that I had learned in that moment when it mattered, what was the point of the course? So in my mind, I went through all of the strategies that I learned. I sat down and did my breathing exercises, used my chalk bag to remember all of the times I worked really hard, both at the gym and outdoors, and looked around to realize that I'm outside on a sunny day, enjoying trying hard. Soon enough, I started to feel more joy and calmness again, and I knew that if I didn't do it, I would be okay with it. I was focusing on the moves rather than the outcome.
Yes! Yes!
Just before the crux move, I took a second and did the stop. This really centered me and focused my mind not on, oh my god, I want to send, but reminded me to breathe and look at where the hold is and committing to it. I think this allows me to essentially concentrate. I'm giving my mind a task of looking for holds rather than allowing it to wander off thinking about outcomes. So if 3.5 hours of mental training unlocked my Nemesis project, what would some focused mental training do to my climbing? I'm really excited to find out, so watch this space. Thanks to Becca and Kris for the course. Give them a shout if you're looking for a mindfulness climbing course in Sheffield. I will put a link in the description below. Thank you and see you next time.